everyone, welcome back to Sew Aldo. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I made this dress that I'm wearing. So if you want to see how, then keep on watching.
You will need 3 yards of fabrics. I use rayon slub. I'm going to have the link in the description box below so you can see the information if you want to get the exact fabric. For the sewing patterns, I will be using my self-drafted sewing patterns. These are just basic bodice blocks, but I adapted the neckline to a square. For the skirt patterns, I simply use an A-line skirt pattern and I divide it into thirds. The wider you make each tier, the more fuller the skirt is going to be, but be aware the more fabric you add, it's going to be a lot heavier. First thing, I am going to stay stitch along the neckline and the back neck as well as the shoulders. The purpose of stay stitching is so the neckline doesn't stretch out. I noticed the fabric has like a 25% stretch along the cross grain. It is a sewing technique that will prevent the neckline from gaping or stretching out. Then I close the side darts and the bust darts. I repeated the same for the lining. Then I'm going to join it at the shoulders and side seams. I stitch right below where the stay stitch was. The bodice and lining are complete. Let's set it aside. Now it's time to work on the skirt. I will be working on the first tier, so I match the fabrics, the right sides, then stitch along the side seam. Then I am going to lightly gather it on the top edge to match the bodice waistline. So as you can see here, I match it at the center front and the side, and I'm going to gather it. To achieve a nice stable gathers, you should do 2 rows of gather stitches. You want to make sure that you distribute the gathers evenly. And I will stitch it across. I will repeat the same step for the second tier, so I match it at the side seam and stitch and gather on the top edge. I forgot to mention earlier that I pre-shrunk the fabric. I put it in the wash in cold setting, and then I put it in the dryer in delicate setting, and then I steam ironed it. Then it should look like this. By the way, the tiers are about 10 inches long, including the seam allowances from top to bottom. Now I am gathering the last tier, and this is the tricky bit because there are so much fabrics here. Just be patient and it will give you good results. After I attach the last tier, it's time to attach the bodice lining. Match the right sides of the fabrics along the neckline, and I'm going to stitch it right across. Doing 1/2 inch seam allowance. The tricky part is sewing the corners, so once you reach the corner, you are going to lift up the presser foot and then pivot the fabric and then put down the presser foot and continue on sewing. I'm going to grade the fabric. I snip the corners, then along the curve at the back neckline. Doing this will help the fabric to relax and ease. It will help the fabric to lay flat, and it's going to give you a nice crisp neckline. I pulled out the lining and I'm going to sew on understitching. So I am sewing the lining to the seam allowance, basically sewing it on itself. So when we wear the garment, the lining will stay in place, stay inside the garment rather. As you sew, you want to make it nice and taut so it doesn't bubble along the edge later on. Next, I give the garment a good press And it's time to attach the zipper. First, I mark the top edge. This is about 3/8 of an inch from the top of the zipper. Then I mark the seams of the dress, and then I mark how long I want the zipper to be, and I will trim the rest off. I also mark the fabric to where the zipper is going to end so I can see all these lines later on. It's so much easier to match them up. But before I do that, I am going to iron the zipper to open up the coil a little bit. But be easy, you don't want to melt the zipper teeth. After I ironed it, it's time to sew the zipper. So pay attention to the orientation of the zipper. As you can see, the right side is facing up, and then I flip it down to match the right sides of the fabrics and the zipper together. And I'm going to fold the top edge and line it up as close as I can get it to the fashion fabric, and then I'm going to pin. If you want to, you can actually draw a line so you can follow it and match it up, but I didn't do that. I just kind of eyeballed it today. Because I mark all the seams, it's so much easier to match it up. Then I will just mirror image the other side of the zipper teeth, so I flip it down, fold the top edge, pin to secure, and match up the marking points. I hope this is helpful to you, and I hope I will make your sewing a little bit easier, because I know when I was a beginner, zipper, especially invisible zipper, is actually it terrifies me. But once I get the hang of it and I got the technique down, it's actually not that hard. And I would say invisible zipper is the easiest zipper to do, and it gives you like a professional look. Be sure that the seams are open when you do this. If there is bulkiness along the seam, it will be hard for the zipper to close properly. So you want to trim that down. After I pinned it, it's time to check it. So sometimes the zipper tape will get twisted. All you have to do is untwist it and pin, just like I did here. So I checked and we are good to go. Now it's time to sew along the edge of the zipper teeth, and I am using an invisible zipper foot. So from here to the end here, and from here to the end right there. As I'm sewing, I am opening up the coil so it is kind of standing up, just like that. And this is where I stop because this is the end of the zipper. Make sure to backstitch. I will repeat the same thing to the other side. Here's the moment of truth. Yay, it looks so nice. Next, I will close the back seam from here to the hemline. I pulled out the lining and I'm just going to fold it in just like this, and I'm making sure the corners are nice and flat. Then I am going to pin it along the zipper tape, and when I reach to the bottom, I am going to fold it out. As you can see here, I fold it in, but I actually fixed that later on, so it should be folded out. Then stitch it across. Repeat it with the other side. Here I fix it. I fold it in like this. That way, when I turn this correct side out later on, it's going to hide the raw edge. And this is how you easily add lining to the bodice. And this is what it looks like. I absolutely love it. As you can see, it is nice and clean. You can also press it so the edges are not bubbling like this. And look at that, it's so pretty and it looks professional. Then I am going to hand stitch the lining to the waistline. I'm going to fold in the edge and hand stitch it. Now I am going to base stitch the armholes and then serge the edges, then fold it in and hem it. I also hem the dress by double folding it and then press, then stitch all the way around. For some extra details, I decided to create bows to put on the shoulder, so it is about 25 inches long and 6 inches in width. Give it a good press, and I actually just going to attach it using a safety pin so they are detachable. That way I will have option, because if I wear a cardigan and there is a bow right there, you know it's going to be lumpy along the shoulders and that is not cute. I am obsessed with the lining. Oh my goodness, it is so nice. It looks professional. If you haven't been adding lining to the bodice, I think this is your sign. I have a feeling that this is going to be my new favorite summer dress. Detail is amazing. I will leave the fabric information in the description box below so you can go ahead and check it out. If you are still watching until the dress reveal, I totally appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!